I'm Anurag. I lead the GenAI portfolio within Honeywell Research and Development team. Have been in the industry for close to 18 years now. And I would say I started my journey into the data field when data was not that big. And now we started talking about big data. So it was an evolution from, say, uh, uh, more onto the data, to the cloud, to the AI ML, and now the generative AI part of things. Obviously agentic AI as the next big thing. So uh, I'll try to keep this talk on a 10,000 feet level. I'll not go into a lot of technical details, but yes, for most of the technical implementations, you can follow the blog that's mentioned over here. I Yes, you can read the complete blog on how to use these stuffs in your day-to-day life on the Google Cloud environment. It would be on my Medium page. Okay, so a complete overview on how you can use these specific components of Google Cloud in your development environment. Okay. Okay, so having said that, let's dive deep in. I have seen that close to 20% or 25% of the crowd are people who are actually using Gen AI in the real world, right? Fair assumption. I saw a lot of hands raised. So can I take a poll once again? How many of us over here are using generative AI in their day-to-day life? Or and how many of you actually are developing, say, chatbots or Gen AI apps, or in that respect, agents? Yes, so I think we have a good crowd. So yes, please feel free to ask questions which you might have, right? Whether you are facing any difficulties in your current implementations or during the course of this session. Okay, so uh, yes, now let's talk. What is an agent? So I would not be saying this now. I see we have a lot of practitioners. So anybody would like to take a chance on that? What's an agent? Okay, okay. So uh, what is a LLM? So LLM is a large language model, right? So that is something, a model that has been trained on the internet of data, and then you ask a query and you get a response back, right? So that was an age 3 years. So 3 years in AI is, I would say, at least 30 years uh, in the normal traditional world, right? So you see rapid enhancements are happening in the AI world. So uh, in this genre, I would like to say that Gen AI started with large language models, and from large language models, which was basically usually a chatbot application, those applications evolved, and now there was a next phase on the Gen AI, which was basically tool call. And we have seen a couple of talks on the tool call as well. So you see, Gen AI is putting humans in the forefront of uh, I would say artificial general intelligence, which people are talking about, right? So Gen AI to agentic AI is an evolution in that respect. So Gen AI uh, chatbot applications, we will call it the first generation of generative AI world. Then came the tool call. The tool call era was a very small era, and now we have started talking about autonomous agents, which is an evolution from, say, chatbots to tool calls to autonomous. So basically, consider an agent as Rakesh was mentioning. An agent is, you can consider an agent to be your real estate agent. You can consider an agent to be your marketing agent, a legal agent. So in that respect, you say uh, a lawyer to me is a legal agent for me, because he has the authority, he has the knowledge, he has the capability to guide me, he has the capability wherein somehow I pass him a power of attorney sometimes, saying that you can take decisions on my behalf. Why have I entrusted a lawyer in that respect? Because I understand that the lawyer has the capability, he has the knowledge. so he will do good for me, right? That is where the autonomousity of the agent or the person comes into picture, wherein he takes decisions and he does tasks on your behalf. This is how, say, the chatbot applications of OpenAI has evolved from that phase to the agentic AI framework, right? Wherein we have we are creating functions, we are creating applications which are taking decisions on behalf of yourself. And this is where human in the loop and the responsible AI principle comes in. I heard a question from one of the gentleman here who was asking about the usage of agentic AI in the BFSI domain. So, be it BFSI, be it manufacturing, be it aerospace, defense, very difficult. Data is of utmost important to us, right? I come from the same world, so I understand that. We have not trusted any of our workflows on core agentic AI. We do have human feedback loop, we do have observability, wherein we make sure that each and every action of an agent is, say, orchestrated or authored by us. We have not moved to that autonomous world. But there are use cases, retail, e-commerce, uh, a lot of marketing use cases wherein you can rely completely on the autonomous nature of agentic AI. So this is how agentic AI is different from the normal generative AI or the chatbot world, wherein you give it an autonomous, you give it a authority that you can execute behaviors and you can execute tasks on my behalf. This is where the brain, the I saw Rajesh talk wherein he was mentioning about the tools, the prompt, and the hands of. He showed a very nice presentation wherein the LLM had a hand, which via it had a brain. So the brain is something which basically the LLMs are. That is how using the brain it takes action. So consider agents as normal human beings. Lawyer, as I said, lawyer can be an agent. Your marketing agent can be, your marketing executive can be an agent for you, right? Your uh, uh, say, you read emails automatically and then you start to take decisions. Few emails you need to break a lot of head in understanding that, right? So such kind of use cases you can automate it using agent. Now, so we have been talking about agents, we have been talking about tool calls, we have been talking about observability, but how do we develop it? Where do we develop it? How do we make it from a PowerPoint to production ready code, right? We talked a lot about low code no code tool, be it Crew AI, N8N, right? But few challenges which most of the rapid prototyping tools have, or the low code no code tools have. The point is in the name itself. It says rapid prototyping and low code no code tools, right? Wherein in the hands of the citizens developer, you try to develop a prototype, show a value to the business that once I have this tool, I'll be able to I'll be able to get a productivity increase of, say, a 40%, and a 40% productivity increase multiplied by dollar value will create the USP of that use case, correct? And that is how what happens, business users get that power in the low code no code tool. But a low code no code tool, lot of time we do not entrust it in the production environment, because production, there's a huge gap between POC to production. This is where great software engineers like you come into picture. Now, many of you would have lost the race of, say, a data science race, wherein, say, 5 to 10, 7, 8 years back, there was a huge craze for data scientists, right? Everybody wanted to be a data scientist. Now, from the data science world, we have come to the Gen AI and the agentic AI world. So, it's time for core software engineers to be happy, because you guys are again in demand, because agentic AI does not have much to do with data science. Skills are required. I would not say that it's not required. I myself come from that background wherein when a human in the feedback loop is there, I go ahead, I understand things, right? But It's time for software engineers like you to be happy, because agentic AI development is more of software engineering and less of data science. Because here we are not creating models, we are not what we are doing is basically calling models, observing it, evaluating it, and then putting it into production, right? So a lot of microservices architecture goes into picture. So happy news for developers like you who come from core software background. But data scientists as well are relevant, we need them, so no offense on that. Now, say I want to develop so somebody one of my business users have come up with a use case, and he or she has developed this, showing a value to business is ready to fund. It comes to the engineering principles wherein you need to deploy it. And cloud is, I would say, people close their eyes, and for any of the deployments now they move to the cloud because of their scalability or reliability, all the five or six abilities of the cloud, right? So in the Google, I have developed agentic AI framework on Azure as well as on the Google Cloud. So on the Google Cloud environment, I'll be talking about four announcements which happened a couple of months back, which we have incorporated in our use cases as well. So one is the agent development kit. So the agent development kit has been open sourced by Google, and it has been in the Linux Foundation now, wherein you go ahead and you can use Python. Python is the core language for developing agents, right? So in the Google Cloud environment provides us an open source agent development kit, wherein you can go ahead, you can write your logic for creating functions or tool calls and multi agents, wherein multiple agents talk to each other. So consider a workflow, say a workflow of organizing this event, right? So you imagine this event started from uh, taking the registrations to booking the venues to booking the caterers, so booking the say our sound system, taking care of all the logistics. So imagine each and every functionality you are passing on to to an expert, and those experts could be agents in the software world, wherein you develop it using the agent development kit, right? So in the agent development kit you have it's SDK, wherein you can write your Python codes for calling functions. It has capabilities wherein, say, inbuilt capabilities in terms of multi agent communication. Inbuilt MCPs come into picture. Okay, so the model contest protocol, a whole lot of buzzword around that. So uh, let me quickly move to, you have developed your model now. So you are using an agent development kit, you developed your model. Now, where do you deploy it? Right? This is where, as I said, moving from the low code, no code to the production ready environments. So Google has you somebody from Azure world would have heard about Azure ML, people from AWS, SageMaker, uh, in the Google world, we have the Google Vertex AI. So it's a platform as a service, okay, wherein end-to-end management of your agentic AI use cases can be catered to. It can take care of the scalability, it can take care of the security, it can take about care about communication, right? So you don't have to do anything. Deploy it on your cloud environment. Go ahead. You have there is a lot of selection of the brain. As Rajesh was mentioning, the LLM is the brain of the agents, right? So you have a choice. You want to go through, say, OpenAI. You want to go through Anthropic. You want to go through, say, our Mistral. You want to go through DeepSeek. So there's a concept called a model garden in the Google Vertex AI, wherein you have a choice. You have a choice to take which model you would use for what. Correct? So you have flash models, you have pro models. So you need to take a decision that whether it's a use case wherein I would need answers quickly, or I need to do a deep research. And a lot of concept goes behind in terms of, say, costs involved, which model to use. Okay, so on the Vertex AI engine, you can go ahead, you can deploy your model, right? You develop your model in the agent development kit, you deploy it on the Google Vertex AI agent. Now, uh, comes, and because it's a platform as a service, everything is taken care, right? Scalability, security, connections, everything inbuilt, right? It's a matter of drag drop and getting it provisioned through your cloud team. It also have a lot of pre-built templates. It has a place wherein you can choose your models to be used. Now, a very interesting development took place from the time when Anthropic released Model Context Protocol to the agent to agent protocol. Okay, so currently there are at least 11 to 12 which I know. So a core difference, I think people might ask that. So before you guys ask, I'll say MCP, which is a model context protocol, is a protocol which is useful for tool calls. So basically, agent has its functionality and it is connecting to a database. It is connecting to, say, a website to get details out of it. Zerodha has its own, say, their own MCP server via which you can pull all the finance related data and you can develop an agent out of it. But how agent to agent protocol is different. So imagine or this is how future is evolving. Imagine that Neemhans. Okay, so Neemhans has a agent for making a convention hall booking. Neemhans has an agent for caterer booking for your events. Neemhans has an agent for booking sound systems for any of the events. Now, Geeky Ants has an agent which organizes these events. So they have a set of volunteers, they have a set of people who are in the organizing committee. Now, these two are in the two different realms. One point is wherein Geeky Ants is an organization, Nimhans is an organization. Now, you see, it's a cross organization agent communication. This is where this agent to agent protocol comes into picture. And our MCP protocol comes into picture wherein, say, within the organization, or I would not say within the, it's like how you call a tool. So basically, you connect to a Mendix. I heard there was a concept of Mendix. There is Team Center, Polarian, few of the engineering tools, database. Forget all these tools. Database. Your agent connects to an SQL server or a MongoDB. You can have an MCP server for that. Now, but with agent to agent protocol, that there lies the difference. In MCP, you connect to a tool or a database, but with agent to agent protocol, say your Niemann's booking agent connects with your Geeky Ants organizing agent, right? So they speak a common language to arrive at a point wherein the event becomes successful. So this is a good protocol wherein you need to connect to agents outside your organization, right? Lot of guardrails will come into picture, but at least you have a path forward to look. And uh, and the last piece of the puzzle would be, you have a lot of scattered agents around, right? How do you know that? Or I'm considering the fact that Niemhans has a lot of agents for these organizations for organizing these activities. Light agent, sound agent, a caterer agent, booking agent. Now, how and it's a very big organization, right? Multiple teams are working. So multiple teams are working on different use cases. Now, how do you discover it? That somebody has already developed a model, right? So you can consider it to be our app stores wherein you have apps registered. You go there, you check, I want a transportation app, I want a food delivery app, you get so consider your agent, Google agent space, to be an Uber, or not consider it to be your app store wherein you can, once you or from the age old world of model, consider it as a model registry wherein you need to register your models, right? Be it ML flow or in Databricks or whatever we have used before. So this is a place wherein you store your models, wherein you expose your models so that people are aware. Models have a JSON card, which is their ID cards we are wearing, right? That they identify this agent in my organization is particularly for say a sound system booking. So you need not develop a same model again, and you will be able to discover it. Say the WSDLs of the API world, right? Wherein you describe you used to describe this APIs and people used to call it. So yeah, these are few of the technical terminologies and technical aspects, which if you guys are on the in the Google Cloud world, you can go ahead, you can experiment, and you can try developing your model on this.